Hi everyone, it's Kerrie Hess here. Uh, really lovely to be joining you this afternoon or whatever time of day it is for you, wherever you are in the world, for this webinar about creativity and comparison. Really happy to see how many people have commented on the sidebar in the chat. Feel free while we're letting people just come in and arrive for this webinar to let me know where you're from and a little bit about yourself if you like. That would be really interesting to know. Feel free to pop that in the chat. It's always interesting. The way that this webinar will also work is that you can also pop questions into the sidebar, and I will come back to that sidebar at the very end of this webinar and try and answer as many questions as possible. I won't do that while I'm chatting initially because I'm not great at multitasking, but I will definitely do that at the end. So feel free, if you have any burning questions for me, feel free to pop those into the sidebar, and I'll come back to them at the very end and try and answer them. So feel free to do that. In the meantime, I also wanted to let you know just ahead of the webinar is that my drawing and painting masterclass is opening very soon officially, and it is unofficially open right now for you watching this webinar. And at any time, you can click away from this webinar, and there is a link below where you can click through to that masterclass if you would like to save an early spot. It's only open for a few days, and there is a special discount code for that webinar, which is VIP20. This is 20% off that course, and there's 15 spots for that. So at any moment, if you want to click away, have a look at that, and potentially save your spot with one of those discount spots, feel free to do that. You will have this webinar emailed to you as a recording, so you can always watch the rest of this. If you are worried about missing out on one of those spots, feel free. But I will come back to telling you a little bit more about that masterclass at the end of the webinar. It is a beginner-friendly painting watercolor, 25 video lessons, all at your own pace. It's one of my flagship courses, and it only opens up for a few days per year, and this is it right now. So do check that out if it's something that you're potentially interested in. But let's move forward with the main crux of this webinar now, which is all about creativity without comparison. And I think it's a really important topic in 2025. We're all being bombarded with everyone's highlight reels 24/7. Even I feel this, and it can be really overwhelming. And so I think there's really never been a better time to tap into creativity in the world, with the world being really overwhelming right now. There's so many things happening in every part of the world, making it incredibly stressful. And creativity is one of the most useful tools that we all have available to us to counteract that level of overwhelm. So I think there's never been a better time to try and get past fears, comparison, imposter syndrome, all those things, and find your own joy in creativity. It's really a pathway to feeling calm and contented. And I think ultimately in 2025, that is the flex. That is the new flex. It's not a new handbag. It's feeling calm and content. It is definitely for me anyway. So we're going to talk a little bit about comparison with other people, because I think that is something that does play on our minds because of that whole highlight reel thing. But I think the other big thing is that we probably need to talk about an even bigger issue that holds us back, and that is self-comparison. This is holding ourselves up to a really high standard and being really hard on ourselves when we try something new. And I think this is even bigger for most people in holding us back from trying something new or tapping back into something that we loved in childhood. And so I think we should start there. Let's start with that, because actually I think that's the thing that I find with my students in my courses. It's not really about always comparing to other people. It's comparing a standard that they have set in their own mind of what they would like to be achieving straight away. And sometimes that's unrealistic and can stop us from moving forward with creativity. So let's start there. So to dive deeper into this, let's look at where you are in your life right now. Whatever you do in your life, whether you're a lawyer or a parent or you're at university, you're caring for someone, whatever you're doing in your life, you're a school teacher, I don't know, whatever you do, I'm sure you're really good at it. I'm sure you've been working on the skill set to do that for many years. And I'm sure that it comes really naturally to you. And that just feels really good. You probably don't overthink those skills, and you just do it, and it feels really good. And sometimes when we're at some stage in life wanting to try something new, we can feel a bit anxious about wanting to be really good straight away at this new thing. And changing your mindset around that is a really good way to still try the new thing and not have that be a roadblock, and to not overthink it. So an example of this is, for me, when I started a new creative outlet for me, which was, I mean, I've always been drawing and painting, but I started journaling each day about 3 years ago. And when I started doing that, I felt really silly. I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. And it took me a little while. I started doing it 10 minutes every morning. And in the end, I realized I actually never go back and read my journal entries. I don't really care what the output is. The point is simply to do it. And the practice of doing that new creative thing that's in my life that I'll probably do forever is the point. And same thing goes for me for painting and creativity on a Sunday afternoon. It's probably about 3 or 4 o'clock. I'll just take an hour and I will just be creative for the sake of being creative. I like to make sure that hour once a week has nothing to do with work, has nothing to do with something that in my business we're selling. It has nothing to do with something that a client wants. It's simply just color, creativity, whatever I feel like doing for about an hour. And that's a practice that I do on a weekly basis. Journaling is something I do every morning. And I mean, I am painting in a commercial sense every day. So painting for me is every day as well. But that practice of doing it just for me once a week feels completely different. And those two things have completely changed my life and have given me so much counterbalance to stress, overwhelm, and when things go wrong, I feel so much more centered in myself and my ability to regulate and not, catastrophize over small things. And so creativity, if you can imagine a world without creativity, like just try and imagine you're getting up to go to work and there's no music on the way. You don't see any paintings in your home or artwork. There's no colorful billboards even on the way to work. You don't have a beautiful movie to watch in the evening. You just don't have any of those things, and you don't see a lot of color. It's all black and white. It's all business. It's all gray. Just imagine how hard your day would be without that. And that is really just consuming other people's creativity and enjoying it. And obviously, there's a huge place for that. That's a wonderful thing to have. But the act of actually creating yourself is like an explosion of how amazing those things feel to consume. And if you take the pressure of perfectionism away, then it allows you to really step into this beautiful place of creativity without expecting yourself to be perfect. That's another big thing. Taking the expectation of doing things perfectly in the beginning away from you. And I think the older we get, the more that becomes a thing. You know, when little kids are doing art classes, they're not really worried too much about coloring inside the lines. They're just enjoying the moment. And that kind of playful open-mindedness is something we tend to lose a little bit as we get older. And, you know, if you think back to when you were a child or in high school or primary school, and art and painting and creativity, if that was something that you enjoyed, it could be something that is missing from your life right now. And my big aim with my courses, all of my painting courses, and particularly this new one, that's the current one that's open now, is not just the skills of painting and watercolor, but it's also getting into the habit of creating time for yourself, time for your own creativity, and time for not having to just give to everyone else. I think as women, it's very, very common that we tend to be giving to everyone else all of the time, and our lives are so busy. And I get it, because I get it. I have these moments too where the list is so long and we're looking after everyone else's needs, and our needs tend to fall to the very bottom. And if there's time, we will try and do something for ourselves. But having that regular time for ourselves is really rare, and being able to book it in with yourself is life-changing. And so the point of this course and all of my painting courses, or what any other creative pursuit for me, is that you get into that rhythm of regular time for yourself to be creative, because it honestly is one of the best ways to counteract overwhelm, stress, exhaustion. And just switching your mind into being creative means you have to stop for that time thinking about all the other things that you need to do. And over a period of time, it gives your mind a rest in those periods, and it makes a huge difference over time. So the whole self-comparison thing, I think, is the biggest roadblock for most people. And also the ability to say, I deserve to take time for myself, particularly women, is also another huge roadblock that I don't know why we do this, but we tend to just think about the collective first and ourselves second or last. And sometimes it's okay to think about yourself and show people that you need time for yourself as well, and time to be creative, and time to do whatever it is, whether it's one of my courses or something else, just for yourself. And if there's one thing that you come away from this webinar today, I hope it's that, and that I inspire you to think about, how often do I do something for myself, even on a weekly basis, not even necessarily on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. How often do I do something that's just for myself for, say, 1 hour? Is there 1 hour in an entire week that I do something that's just for me? And if there isn't, I would love you to think about creating space for that, because it is quite life-changing if you can do it. So those are my first thoughts on self-comparison. And I think that's really important, because we're all our worst enemy sometimes. And the truth is, you do deserve time for yourself, and you were not put on this earth just to look after others. You were also here to find your own joy, and creativity is one of the most beautiful ways to find joy. So that's my main message in this whole webinar. So the other type of comparison that we probably need to discuss is comparison with others. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, 2025, I mean, the highlight reels and the, you know, this is my best, seeing everyone's golden moments 24/7 on all of the social media channels is very real. And honestly, sometimes you can see all of that and feel overwhelmed and think, well, that's great for them. I'm not creative and I couldn't do that. And it can almost start a negative train of thought, seeing other people's success, which is weird. But if we look at the research, which is that apparently we have 60,000 thoughts per day. That's exhausting. Apparently we do, and you can Google that if you don't believe me. Apparently we have about 60,000 thoughts, individual thoughts per day. Most of these are very unconscious. They're just kind of tracking in the back of our minds. And within those 60,000 thoughts, apparently 45,000 are negative, which is very sobering. And I think the reason I'm sharing that is that it does relate to when we see other people's success and creativity and skills and projects and creativity. It's most likely that our brain will interpret that with negativity about ourselves, because we're all very self-focused and our brains are wired for negativity. And I think that probably has something to do with the cave person era and staying alive and looking for danger and staying safe. And we're in a different world now, but those negative thoughts still tend to come up very easily. So some ways that you can potentially be aware of that and counteract that happening, just notice whether that happens to you, is that you might be able to rewire those negative thoughts into something like, when you see someone else's success, saying things to yourself like, oh, that must have felt amazing for them to create, or look at what's possible. This is showing me what's possible. Isn't that beautiful? Or this might be a sign from the world to me that I can be creative as well, and it might be my time to step into creativity. And all of those things, those kind of flipped switches, are A, positive and don't require or involve comparison. So I think the idea is to try and move away from comparison and get yourself into a really abundance mindset with creativity. I mean, there is no limit to who can do well in their own creativity and who can have skills and create skills and find joy being creative. If you start painting and you do that on a regular basis, you are a painter. You can say, I am a painter. You don't have to be winning art awards to say, yeah, I like to paint and I'm a painter. If you paint, you are a painter. It's as simple as that. And I think that at the end of the day, creating art, whether it's writing, singing, whatever it is that you would like to try, it's ultimately all about tapping into your own joy. That's the point of it. It's not about the output. It's about tapping into your own joy. And there is a saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And there's a reason for that. If you can just stay in your own lane, focus on what you want to do and what's going to make you happy, then you're actually not worried about what anyone else is doing. And if you notice what other people are doing, you're happy about it. You're like, that's great. I love that. That's just more creativity in the world, and that's lovely. So hopefully that's a different kind of mindset tweak to looking at how other people have had success in creativity and not letting that be something that stops you from stepping into yours. So some really simple mindset shifts could be to step into your own creativity. I'm doing this for joy, not perfection. Perfection is such a fallacy. Nothing's perfect, and we need to take perfection off the table. I'm allowed to not be great at this in the beginning. Learning a language, is that creative? I'm not sure. But when I started learning French, I was so bad at it, and it was frustrating because I felt really vulnerable and silly speaking in another language when I wasn't very good at it. And I just decided in the end, if I really want to be able to do this, because my son is half French, and be able to have that skill, and I also work with a lot of clients who are French, so it's a good skill for me to have. If I want that skill, then I have to accept that I'm not going to be good at it for a while. And I have to accept that I'm going to look like a learner and feel like a learner and be in a learner phase for a little while. And that's normal, and then that's okay. And over time, there's just this moment where it all becomes easier. And that's the same with painting or writing or singing, anything creative. You're going to be a little bit average at the start, and that's okay. That's totally normal. That's where everyone starts. And just being comfortable with that. That's a key. I'm giving myself grace and time to learn. That's another thing I think that a lot of people put in their own minds a time limit on how long they want to have to learn this skill, whether it's the guitar or painting. And really, why? There's no time limit. Creativity should have no time limit if it's something that you're just doing for yourself. And even if it's for work, learning and honing your skills is a lifelong journey as well, even if it's in a professional sense. So take the timeline off the table. There is no timeline, and that takes a bit of pressure off. I deserve to be creative without any criticism, particularly from myself. So I think that's really important. We are our worst critics. We really are. And, everyone's really absorbed in their own world at the end of the day. So it's just like you should just do what you want to do. And if that's something creative, just tap into that and do it. And don't worry about what anyone else thinks, because everyone's just thinking about themselves anyway. That's just something I'm pretty sure of. I deserve time to myself to do something joyful. Really, really want that to be the message of this webinar. I deserve to have a calm nervous system, which we all do. And I think, and it's studies prove that regular creativity is an amazing conduit to a calm nervous system. And I think that's something we all want. We want to feel just comfortable and calm and not always reacting and overwhelmed and stressed in our lives. I think that's a big one. Every mistake I make is a chance to learn. And look, I think that's still, I've been an artist for 25 years. I do pieces sometimes that I think, you know what, I messed that one up, and that's okay. I might be a bit annoyed for a moment, but then I'll just say, okay, why did I mess it up? And try and figure that out and work it out. And then it's a chance to learn, and nothing's a waste of time. So even if you start a new creative pursuit and you make mistakes, there's no mistakes, because you're just learning, and that's a lifelong mindset attitude to have. I think I still have it. There is no time limit on discovering my own creativity. I could work through a creative course or a project over 3 months, or I could take a year. The choice is mine. I think I mentioned that point earlier. There shouldn't be any time limit. And then finally, the point of it all, the point of painting, the point of creating, the point of trying something new or reigniting the passion for something you loved as a child is simply to enjoy it. And sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in material things and the next thing and all of our lists and to-do lists and emails, and that we kind of forget sometimes that the point of our lives here is to enjoy our lives. That's really the whole point of my book, 75 Summers. Our lives are really short and finite, and we really should be taking some time to tap into joy and creativity, because at the end of the day, that is going to make a huge difference to our peace and well-being for this really short time we have on this earth. And so the point of creativity is to enjoy it. So that said, my masterclass in drawing and painting is now open for enrollments. It is opening officially in a couple of days' time, but it is open early just for you watching this webinar, and you can pop onto the course page just below here, and there were 15 spots to use a discount code, which is VIP20 for 20% off if you would like to enroll in the course. There's a full refund period if it's not something that you gel with, but I would love you to be part of it if you would like to step into your creativity with me and everyone else during the course. So I'll let you know a little bit about it. It is all about learning watercolor. It's creating beautiful artworks for your home, for yourself, but even more than that, it's about self-care, relieving stress, and creating that regular time for yourself. It's 25 lessons. Everything is beginner friendly, but if you are a few steps along, it is also applicable for you. It's somewhere between that sweet spot of a beginner and moving towards an intermediate artist if you've already tried out watercolor before. It's about bringing a sense of calm and well-being into your life, as well as creative skills. And you can do it in your home and at your own pace. It is completely your schedule. You have it all open from when you enroll, and you can start right then, or you can start in a year's time. The choice is yours. As I mentioned, there's that VIP code, and there's only a limited number of those, and there won't be any other discounts offered for this course at any time. So this is the only one. Who is this course for? It is for anyone who would like to have a creative outlet but feels they just need to create that time for themselves. And watercolor is very forgiving, spontaneous. It's perfect for a beginner. This course is about pure joy. There are no grades, timelines, marks, and you can do the course from your home, from anywhere, and as many times as you like. There's lifetime access. So it's really something just for yourself, and it will hopefully give you the confidence to paint in your own time for many years to come and connect with others during the course. A little note on supplies. They're very simple that you'd need for the course. It is just watercolor paints, a few brushes, and watercolor paper. You can obviously use mine. I have my own version, kerriehess.com, or you can use ones that you might have at home or another brand. You can use whatever brand you like as far as supplies, but they are very simple. We have a private Facebook community where you can upload your work and share it if you like, or if you're in introvert mode, you don't have to do that. That's not a requirement. That's totally up to you. And the course is open only for a really short period of time in 2025. Enrollments will close on the 27th of August or when sold out. So 100 places and only time this year, and then it will close for another year. And last little mention that the link for the course is right there. So I'd love you to be part of it. If you have questions, send me an email at kh@kerriehess.com.au and I will answer any questions you might have. But yes, I'd love you to be part of that course. Okay, I'm going to have a look now at questions. Let's have a look. I'm going to have a look here. If you right now would like to type in a question, feel free to do that, because this is the moment that I'm going to have a look through and see if there's anything for me to answer, because I always think that's a nice way to kind of move towards the end of a webinar. Lots of lovely comments here. Lots of people from all different places, by the way. Sydney, Ireland, South Australia, Alabama. Love that. Georgia. I'm just looking to see if there's any questions at all. Victoria, Townsville, Lebanon. Hello. Lots of nice comments, but I don't see any specific questions right now, so that's okay. I'm going to just wrap up this webinar in that case by just saying thank you so much for joining me. I know your time is precious on the weekend. I really appreciate everyone who is part of this community. I'm so lucky to have only 99.9% of the time really kind commentary on social media. I know not everyone has the luxury of that. So people that are a part of this community, like yourself, I really appreciate that. It means the world to me. And, if you ever have ideas of what you'd like to see more from me, please feel free to send me a DM. I'm always trying to obviously create courses, but also create free content as well, so that there's something for everyone. So please get in touch and let me know if there's something else you'd love to see from me, a tutorial on how to paint something specific, or just any feedback that you would like to let me know about. Another note is thank you so much to everyone who sent me messages about 75 Summers, my book. It was really, really personal to write and illustrate this book and self-publish. So thank you so much to everyone who has sent me the feedback on that. I really, really appreciate that. It was such a labor of love and really vulnerable experience for me because of the content in the book. If you have read it, you know what I mean. And yeah, I really appreciate it. This has been a really interesting year in business. We've tried lots of new things, and 75 Summers has definitely been one of those things. And I couldn't be more overwhelmed by the feedback. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And for those who would like to join me in this masterclass, I am really excited to meet you, get to know you, and be part of your creative journey. And just to tie everything up here, the main thing I want you to go away with from this webinar, if it's only one thing, is you deserve time for yourself. You deserve time for your own joy, your own creativity, and even if it's a case of having to say to everyone in your family, every Friday or every Sunday, I take 1 hour for myself, and I'm going to be doing whatever it is that you need to be doing. And if that's something creative, you'll have a triple effect on how calm and centered you feel over the long term. So I highly recommend that you try doing that and schedule it in like a dentist appointment, because your happiness, your health, and your well-being is just as important as not getting cavities. So I hope that's the message you take away. And thank you so much for being part of this community. It means the absolute world to me. And I'll see you in the Drawing and Painting Masterclass if you'd like to join me. Bye. Thanks, everyone.